Fabulous. I love this. Welcome to, here we go. Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. And thank you for joining me and my very special guest. She has one of the most glorious and versatile contemporary voices of her generation. Oh, yes. I'm talking about you. She is one of Broadway's most beloved stars. I have known her since her New York debut in the musical Eli's Coming, for which she received an Obie Award. You know her from such shows. Exactly. I want to see that Obie later. You know her from such shows as Aida, Dance of the Vampires, Lennon, In the Heights, Wicked, and Hamilton, and from numerous TV and film roles. And now this coming Sunday afternoon, April 25th, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, she will be live doing her virtual concert with Seth Rudetsky as part of his Seth Concert Series that streams right here at Broadway World. Please say hello to my dear friend, Mandy Gonzalez.
Hello. Hi, Richie. It's so great to see you. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here in my home. Welcome you to my home.
I love this. This is the new now. Everyone's being welcomed to someone's home, and everybody sort of puts their little zhuzh behind them saying, this is the area where I do street yards or whatever else. So
this is the area I pretty much do it all, and I do a lot of high belting from this area. This is not where I'll be for Seth's show. I use another area. My husband's like my tech guy, and he always says, tomorrow we'll be in the kitchen, and then the next day the bathroom. We have this spot, and then the spot that I'll be doing my concert in. And my neighbors are, they get to hear it all.
Well, first off, how are you and where are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well. Thank you. I am in New Jersey. I'm at home. My daughter is still virtual. Her district has not gone back to school since March. So I am up here doing work while she does school downstairs. So, but we're all doing very well. Thank goodness.
It's interesting because during this year, I've spoken to artists all over the world, and and everyone's gone through a different way of dealing with the pandemic. If you live in the city, or if you live in the country, or if you live by yourself, or if you have a significant other or a partner or kids. So what has this year been like for you, your husband, and your daughter?
Well, Richie, I think everybody has had such a big year. It's been such a big year for all of us. My story is included in that. I kind of had a lot happen this past year. I was in Hamilton in 2019. In October, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I started treatment in January of 2020 while still doing Hamilton. And then the pandemic happened, having to continue treatment throughout that and kind of try to navigate what that was. And but I'm happy to say that I made it through, that with my family, we all made it through, because as you know, cancer is not a me disease, it's a we disease. It affects all of us. And I've used my platform now to advocate for others for early detection. And so that has been a big part of my journey throughout this pandemic, is healing. And then another part has been learning. So actors have not only had to pivot, but leap into figuring out how to make a living, during this pandemic. And I really had to think about, well, what is it that I love to do, and how can I do that from my home? And so I pretty much made my husband start learning how to do a soundboard, how to do a tech thing for voiceovers. He made me, my husband's a painter. He's super creative. And he made me a cardboard, like this, out of this cardboard box. He made me a sound booth so I can record voiceovers. I can record. So some of these recordings that I've put out on CDs and things like that have been in this booth that's right next to me. And so I think that I've just said a lot of yes throughout this year when it comes to creating. And I've learned so much. I've fallen a lot along the way, as we all have, but my spirit is always you fall, but you get back up. And I think that has been so true during this past year. But that has been my crazy journey of this past year. That's my story.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrilled you're doing well and,
Thank you.
working through this. But, you've always been a very positive person. And I
Yes.
have too. And I think that has a lot to do with healing and how you go about healing yourself when something
Exactly.
happens, right?
Yes, exactly. I think that, when the pandemic happened, it was like everybody said, well, don't go out, but cancer patients, you really have no choice. You have to keep going to treatment, keep going to hospitals and facilities that maybe aren't the safest, Yeah. And I think it was really my ability to always look for the silver lining that really got me through that. And then the people that were at those hospitals, healthcare workers, and the fact that they were scared, but they were there helping all of us. And I think that it was my friend, one of my best friends, she always says these like incredible things as best friends do. Yeah. That's why they're your best friends. And she always says to me, look for the angels. And she said, you don't know what that means until you go through something. And for me, that was really true. Every day I would look for those angels that were surrounding me. And so I felt like I found them every day. And I still do. I still try to look for that every day and try to find the good in the day.
I love it. You look sensational.
Thank you. Well, I had to put on some makeup. I got lighting.
I love this.
I've learned.
All right, let's talk about the poster behind you.
Yes.
Fearless.
Well, you mean this?
Oh, bad. Totally. Well, first let's talk about hashtag Fearless Squad.
Yes.
Tell everybody what that is and how proud you are of that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I started the Fearless Squad, hashtag Fearless Squad, about, I guess, maybe 4 years ago. And it really started, Richie, because, when I first started in the business 20 years ago, people would write you letters to the theater, fans and people would write you and ask you questions, and then you would write them back, and it would take time. But now everything is so different, and I always leave my DMs open because I always want to know what's going on. I'm always that kind of person. And I would have a lot of people write me, especially young people, and say that they felt alone. They felt like they didn't have a place to belong. And so I felt so blessed in my own life to have my own Fearless Squad. So I said, well, if you don't have a Fearless Squad, like, you can just be part of mine. And I put it out there on social media, and it just took off. And I mean, now there are thousands of people all over the world that are part of this fearless movement. And that's really what it started to be. I made up Fearless Squad rules. You have to follow these rules in order to be part of the Fearless Squad. In 2017, I wanted to create an album, and I, asked my dear friend Lin-Manuel Miranda to, that guy, to write a song. And he actually wrote the title track that encapsulated the movement so beautifully, called Fearless. But the story isn't done. The journey isn't done. And so I think I started to create characters when my daughter was born about 9 years ago, and stories for those characters. And I would say about 3 years ago, I really sat down and I started to write. And I feel so lucky that Simon & Schuster picked up my story and believed in me. And now I have a book, my first middle grade novel. It just came out, and it's called Fearless, and it follows the seventh grader, Monica Garcia, who is very similar to my own life, who loves to sing and dreams of a life on Broadway. And along with her abuelita, you follow their journey from a small town in California to opening night on Broadway. And along the way, she meets her Fearless Squad. And together they learn that anything and everything is possible, because together they can be fearless. And it's so much fun. It's full of like backstage secrets and traditions, all these things that I didn't really know about growing up, all these secrets about the theater. And those are the kind of things that I absolutely love. I don't know about you, but it's like those secrets. So I'm hoping that any young person that goes into the theater after reading this book, whether it's in your community or whether it's Broadway, that you look for those secrets, because they're there. There's so many stories in a theater.
Oh, I cannot wait. I'm going to get lots of copies of this book to give to all my nieces and nephews because
Yay!
this is so great, though. Here you started the Fearless Squad, which then turned into a healing album. I mean, your album is so incredible. Anybody watching this, like I said, you can download her album anywhere. Music has healing powers, as we all know, and your album does too. And like I said, Lin-Manuel Miranda is just one of the many people who have written songs on this album because he asked you what Fearless meant to you, didn't he?
He did, and I apologize for my dog.
Oh, listen, they're pointing our building, so in a minute you're going to hear drilling probably.
Okay,
so
okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry. This is real life. But
he wrote this song. He asked you.
Yeah. He asked me, "What does fearless mean to you?" And I told him the story about my parents. And my parents, they met, and you'll probably hear this story again on Seth's show. But my parents met as pen pals during the Vietnam War. My father was a soldier, and my mom wanted to join the Peace Corps, and she was 17, and her parents said absolutely not. And so she did the next best thing, which was write letters to soldiers that didn't have anybody writing to them. And through these letters, they fell in love. And I didn't know about this story until I was about 8 years old, and I found a box of letters in the closet. Because I told you, like, I'm very I don't know, I'm very nosy. Like, I always want to know what's going on. I guess it's because I'm the youngest of 3 kids. Yeah. And, you always kind of get left out. And so you're always like, what's happening? You never want to be left out. So that's carried on to this day. But I found this box of letters, and my mom told me to not read the letters. They were private, and never read the letters. But of course, because I am who I am, like, I read the letters, and I learned about, their friendship and eventually their love. And my father, when he returned from Vietnam, they were from both different parts of California. So my father was from Northern California, Reedley, which is also where Monica Garcia is from. But he's from Northern California. My mom was from Los Angeles, and she was Jewish. My father was Mexican American. And after the war, he showed up on her doorstep, and my mom was like, what? Her parents were like, what? But he swept her off her feet, and she fell in love. And because they were from different cultures, my father wasn't really accepted right away into my mother's family. And so, but it was through their love that I learned what it meant to be fearless, because I grew up with a bubby and an abuelita. Like, I just, I didn't know any of this tension like existed because of their love. And my parents have now been married almost 50 years, which is so crazy. And when Lin heard this story, he wrote the song right away, and, and then I heard it. And when I played it for my parents, they were like, that's our story. That's our song. And so I'm glad it's there.
I love this full circle moment. We'll get into your family and everything else, but we've got to talk about this coming Sunday, April 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Absolutely.
You'll be live doing your virtual concert with Seth Rudetsky as part of his Seth concert series that streams right here at Broadway World. How excited are you?
I'm so excited. Well, first of all, with Seth, you just never know like what's going to happen. I know that there's going to be like a lot of laughter, a lot of shenanigans, and a lot of high belting. Because even if the song ends low, he'll make me do it again and say, well, can you end it like up the octave? And I just always have such a great time with him. I mean, if people follow on my YouTube videos of Seth, like, those are some of my favorite experiences, because he thinks like nobody. He's just so much fun, and I'm just excited to be able to sing live with an accompanist who is incredible, and I'm just excited to sing all of this material, which I haven't been able to do in a long time. So I can't wait.
All right, let's talk about what are some of the songs you might be doing, some of the composers, like what can your fans expect?
Well, I was very sad to hear that Jim Steinman passed away. And in my show, you will definitely hear a Jim Steinman classic from Dance of the Vampires, Total Eclipse of the Heart, which was my favorite song growing up. And I was lucky enough to sing it on Broadway with Michael Crawford. On Sunday, I will be singing it by myself. And then Seth will definitely be adding some some background vocals along the way. You can expect to hear Breathe from In the Heights, a little Defying Gravity, and just some of my absolute favorites. Maybe something from Hamilton. We shall see. But I think it's just going to be so much fun. And also songs from my album, which I love, which is, I do songs from some of my favorite artists like Bruce Springsteen. And, it's going to be so much fun.
Oh my gosh. No one does this better than Seth, because his sound people, when this all started, it was a whole different thing. I know you had to get all this stuff to download and all of this stuff where you're in sync with Seth. And it's just like, it's got to be so great for you just to be putting together a show and you're like, I'm singing on Sunday.
Well, also to put together a show and be able to hear yourself, sometimes I'll do shows that are virtual and I can't hear what I sound like in the ears, and so it's going to be wonderful to be able to hear both of those things in my monitor.
Okay. Have you had rehearsals with Seth yet?
We're having actually our first rehearsal today. We've done a lot of talking and so it should be so much fun. So we're having like a big 2-hour rehearsal today. So it's going to be great. Oh,
I wish that was live. But
yes.
But we're going to get into your VIP sound check after this. So we talked about what part of your home, you talked about the box your husband built you, which is great. That so many people are like doing it in their bathroom or turning their sound studio as their bathroom because it reverberates off the tiles, or someone's like, we've taken all of our clothes out of our closet and I sit in there with a ring light and they're like,
oh, when I first started, I would go into my closet and with my microphone and put like a towel over my head and try to get the sound that way. I've learned a lot since then and been able to grow from the towel. But it's like you do what you got to do. It's just in order to make something work.
But that's what creative people do. It's been an interesting thing during this pandemic, but people are like, oh, I'll find a way to make this work because, the kind of careers you all have, you never know what your next job is going to be.
Absolutely.
You've done everything in your career. It's like, oh, I'll turn my closet into a sound booth. Great. That's where I can make magic. That's where I can do what I do.
Exactly.
Or my
year
husband,
of yes. You just got to try. And sometimes by trying, you never know. I talk to young people who want to sing and they feel, well, what if my neighbors hear me? I'm in an apartment and what if my neighbors hear me and I'll be embarrassed? And I just say, you never know whose day you're going to make. I used to be so nervous singing in my apartment in Brooklyn, and I would come outside into the hallway and I would say to my neighbors, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. And they're like, what do you mean? We love it. And so, I think it's so important, whether you're a professional singer or you just love to do it, to find a safe space in your home to sing, because it is, like you said, Richie, music is so healing and it's important. Because if you're like me, I grew up with a brother who was like, be quiet, like Mandy, no singing at the table. Like we had different rules, because I sang all the time. And so if you have that partner or that brother or sister, you can still find that little space for yourself, which is important.
Like I said, listening to people through the walls or whatever during this pandemic sing or something, I'm sure people are like, oh, I don't even turn my stereo on now. I listen to Mandy next door, seriously.
Yes. I don't know if they say that, but maybe, it's been great because where I live, there's a lot of musicians, and I'll hear in my backyard, I'll hear somebody practicing their drums or somebody on the saxophone. And I just love it. I love that I live in New Jersey, but I also live very close to the city. So there's a lot of people out here from the Broadway community, which is, good.
Have you chosen your outfit for Sunday yet?
Oh, absolutely. Oh. It'll definitely be something with sparkle. I have to shine.
A lot of people are like, I've worn nothing the whole entire year except for sweatpants or whatever. So
I won't be wearing shoes, but we'll see. I might bring a couple pairs of shoes. I did this concert the other day, and we did it at a studio, which was really great. It was me and Javier Munoz, and
love him.
And it was great. But the thing was, I had to wear shoes. you know, because they were filming the full body, and Miguel Cervantes was in there as well. And I was like, oh, I haven't worn heels in like over a year. And so that was really weird and felt weird. But it was fun. But I won't be wearing shoes for the concert for sure.
No, but it's interesting. I remember like 2 months ago, I put a pair of shoes on and it was like, I'm clomping around in my shoes saying, I feel like a 5-year-old learning to walk in a pair of shoes.
I know. It's so strange, but it's also like, I don't know, you know, maybe I'll wear heels again, but maybe that won't be my go-to shoe when I go out. Cause I'm just like, you know, what's the point? It's just put on a slip-on, like it'll be fine. Same thing.
I love that. So it's great that you have your husband, because I've spoken to a lot of these people who are like, oh my God, now I'm a stage manager, I'm the entertainer, I'm the lighting designer with my ring lights.
My poor husband. Yes, I know. But he's been fired though, Richie, I have to say, not from my, you know, from helping me technically, but from being my reader for auditions.
Why?
Because, you know, I love him so much, but he just adds a little too much. Sometimes when, you know, the scene requires you to not have an accent, he decides to put an accent in there just because it's like he felt it in the moment. He's laughed a lot in my scenes. And so I said, you got to go. So that's the one thing that he did not make the cut at. You know, I feel for him. But he tries. He says yes whenever I ask for, you know, him to help me. He always says yes. And sometimes he makes the cut and sometimes he just doesn't. Sorry.
Well, at least your agent hasn't said, we don't want you, we really want the reader.
Oh my gosh. Well, somebody said, one time, I said, is that your husband? Like with that dark, like deep voice. And I was just like, yeah, that's him. You know? But he makes it fun. You know, we had a lot of laughs, and, you know, with my concerts, with my virtual concerts, because he's an artist, he's so visual. That he's bought these like different colored lights that go behind me. Ooh. And so for different songs, he'll bring up the lights. It's like it's a whole thing. So that will definitely be happening on Sunday.
Oh, we are so excited because you have a big stage now. You've got lighting. It's nice to be married to an artist because they see something totally different. They're like, oh, I'll paint you lights. You know, we'll
I know.
So has your daughter become your reader too? Has she been given that job at all?
You know what? She hasn't, but she likes to come in sometimes when my friend comes over and reads with me. Yeah, and listen and just go, ooh. And, you know, she's really into like TikTok and all those things. So she keeps me in the know. Because I don't know how to do all that stuff, Richie. But with my daughter, I learn, you know, savage love. You know, otherwise I would be like, I don't know what are the kids doing these days? So I learned from her.
I'm the same way. But what I also want to ask you is, you have this VIP sound check ticket. These are really exciting through Seth because this is like the rehearsal you're going to do with him. It's behind the scenes.
I'm like, what? No, just kidding.
No, it's at noon on Sunday. These are so exciting because, you know, you'll have fans that get the theater, get what you all do, and they're like, oh my God, I can go behind the scenes and watch them create this, as opposed to walking into a nightclub where there's music on, the lights are on the curtain, then all of a sudden they say, ladies and gentlemen, Mandy Gonzalez, but they don't see the behind the scenes. And this is that special ticket that someone can get and watch you to sort of like Seth will be, sing it an octave higher, take it again.
Oh, yes. And he's already said that he might just throw some songs in there that we've done before that we maybe didn't rehearse like today, but we'll rehearse on Sunday. So you may see those kind of songs. Or maybe it'll be, oh, this makes me think of this song, Mandy, and join along. So that's so much fun. I remember doing concerts, Richie, like live in front of an audience. And some of my favorite times were when they would bring students in to sit during the sound check and what they would learn during that and the questions that they would ask. So I'm excited for you guys all to be there.
Well, this is great because now this concert series, Seth's concert series, is offering a special student ticket. So I'm going to tell everyone, this is really great. This has been wonderful for the past few weeks. Mandy will be in concert with Seth Rudetsky this Sunday afternoon, April 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with a rebroadcast Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there is that special Soundcheck VIP ticket. I love these. I watch these. I have the best time at these.
Absolutely.
At 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Each ticket is $28.50. And when you order your tickets, make sure you know which ones you bought, either the Soundcheck with the 3 o'clock or the 8 o'clock. And there's also now a student discount is now available for Steph's shows, but you must be a registered student with one of those .edu email addresses by using the code STUDENT when signing up for a BroadwayWorld account. I know a lot of students who have done this because, you know, a lot of people, these students are like, wow, these are like master classes and they don't have a lot of money to spend.
Yeah.
Of course, this series is produced by Mark Cortali. It is sponsored by Broadway World and StreamYard. And tickets are available at Broadway World events at SethConcerts.com, or just Google Mandy Gonzalez. They'll send you the tickets. You know, Mandy, we're going to go to growing up. And like I said, I cannot wait to get this book because I know a lot of your growing up is probably in this book.
Yeah.
Where did your love for theater begin? And how did your grandma and rock theater play into this?
Richie, work. So similar to Monica Garcia in my book, Fearless, I also grew up with a love of music and performing from a very young age. And I really lucked out, Richie, because I had a grandma who loved Broadway. Yeah. And so I would listen to original Broadway cast albums and I would watch old movie musicals with her. And that's how I learned who Ethel Merman was, Edie Gourmet, Judy Garland. And I really wanted to be a part of that world. And I don't come from a showbiz family at all. I come from, a family who works very hard, and both of my parents worked full time. And I was really lucky because my grandma would babysit us on Saturdays and she would sing to us. And I was really the only grandchild that sang back. And so I remember my mom telling me that she went to my mom and said, Robin, you know, Mandy's very loud. We have to get her into voice lessons or I'm afraid she's going to hurt herself. Like, little did she know that loud voice would eventually, help me. But she knew that she saw that I had a talent. And I think that you're very lucky in life when you have that person that sees something special in you and then wants to help you to see it grow. And so my grandma would open the paper and find places for me to perform. And one of those places, one of my first places I performed at was the Showboat Dinner Theater, which is down the street from her house. They were putting on a production of Fiddler on the Roof, and we would go to the Showboat Dinner Theater with my grandparents, and you could eat, you could get a buffet meal, all you can eat pickles, and we love pickles. And then you would watch a show. We saw Man of La Mancha. That was one of my first shows. And I remember my grandma going up to the woman, Susan, that played Aldonza, and she said, my granddaughter can sing, can you give her lessons? And so my grandma she never talked like that. I don't know. But she said, yes, I'll give her lessons. And that was my first singing teacher. But wow. I did Fiddler on the Roof at the Showboat Dinner Theater. And then my grandma found in the paper, they were having auditions for this group called Rock Theater, which is still around in Los Angeles. And it was a group where you could sing rock music and theater, hence Rock Theater. And I auditioned for that group when I was 8 years old, and I made it in. And we would perform all over Los Angeles, anywhere anybody would ask us. We wouldn't get paid. We'd perform at the food court in the mall. I'm not talking like glamorous life. Like I'm talking like anywhere. We would perform at the Los Angeles Marathon. I remember doing a performance as the runners were coming in, like singing show tunes, like, you're the best around. I don't know, doing something like that. But I absolutely loved it. And I was, there weren't other 8-year-olds in that group. A lot of the kids were a lot older than me. And I loved that too. I loved the fact that they loved what I loved. All of a sudden I wasn't so different. I had friends that were like, oh, you like musicals? Have you heard this? Have you heard this? And I remember listening for the first time, my friend Gabe in Rock Theater gave me a double cassette for Miss Saigon. I mean, I don't know. Do you remember like your first, like, oh, like Miss Saigon was definitely one of my first, like, whoa, this is amazing.
My parents had a record cabinet. I opened it up because we had been taken to The Sound of Music, the movie. But my parents had the Broadway cast. It was that white album with gold letters with Mary Martin. I was like, this is not Julie Andrews. And my parents like, no, it was a show first. I was like, oh. So of course I got the soundtrack. I had a soundtrack, but I was like, oh, I was turned on to those, and Fiddler and the same thing. I was like, I love these albums.
Yes. It's like you find those gems. And I remember my grandma also had like a player piano that we would sit at. And it was one of the player pianos that you could pedal. I don't know if you've seen those. So one of us would pedal it, usually my brother, and then I would sing. You know, and also, and I mention it at the end of the book, my sister, she played piano and, but she had stage fright. And so my grandma said, I have a great idea. Why don't we put Mandy in the front and she can sing and everybody will watch her while you play. And so my sister, she loved it. My sister was like, great. That's great. But it was really my family that said anywhere and everywhere you can perform, let's do it. My dad bought me a singing machine and we went to Venice Beach, Venice Boulevard or whatever it was, not the boulevard, like the boardwalk. And I would sing show tunes. And then when I was 15, I had a singing teacher that told me about this camp called the Broadway Theater Project in Tampa, Florida. And it was run at the time by Ann Rankin and Demick Waters. And Gregory Hines was going to be one of the teachers, and Treat Williams, Jeff Calhoun. And I auditioned and I got a full scholarship to go when I was 15 and 16. And it really changed my life because the people that were at that camp were probably the best it was very much like going to college. Like they were excellent. And so I wanted to be excellent and I wanted to learn more and to work with those kind of teachers. I was just like, this is what I want to do with my life. And I want to work on Broadway. That's what, that was the trajectory after that,
Well, your first big break, you were a backup singer for Bette Midler on her Millennium Tour. How did that happen?
Well, that happened because so the life I've lived, it's like so crazy. And it's from my grandma. Like, she again saw this thing in the paper. I was working with my singing teacher. And my singing teacher introduced me to an accompanist for certain songs that we would work on, Bill Schneider. I decided that I wanted to put together my own show. This was probably after I got back from the Broadway Theater Project. I was full of just creativity. I put together my own show and we played it at the Cinegrill at the Roosevelt Hotel. And I don't even know if I'm sure the Cinegrill's still there. But at that time, the Roosevelt, it was like, not in a decline, but it was definitely like, like who went to the Cinegrill, And, but my grandma did. And my grandma and like all her friends went to my show. It was packed, sold out. It was great. And so from that, I worked with Bill Schneider. When I went to college, my first year at Cal Arts, Bill Schneider actually writes all of the vocal parts for Bette's backup singers. Wow. So Bill called me and said, Mandy, I know you're in school, but would you like to go and audition to be a backup singer for Bette Midler? And I said, well, yeah, of course. And I didn't know that audition meant like you actually don't have an audition appointment. You just have to go wait in line. So I went and I waited in line. I bought this outfit from Capezio, this 2-piece, I looked great. And I waited in line and I made it through every cut. At that time, we also had to dance as well. And then the next day they called me back and they said that Bette Midler was going to be there. And, now that you've heard my life, like what probably a big fan I was of Bette Midler. And still am. She came in and she was wearing this like green, like suit. She looked fabulous, and these glasses. And at the time I was like, I didn't know Bette Midler wore glasses. Like, oh, and then I started to sing, and I got the job, and I left school and I went on the road with Bette Midler, you know, and I remember, coming to New York, and Bette treated us so incredibly. She put us up at the Plaza Hotel when it was still a hotel. Now it's condos or something like that. And I remember playing Los Angeles and my parents coming, you know, but Bette's shows are very like risque, you know, and I had to wear like a G-string and do like this strut across the stage. But my parents fortunately got seats that were kind of further back, you know, so I don't know how much they saw, but I was like, but I made it. I was like, this is incredible. You know, we, at the end of the show, or at end of Act 1, Bette would go up in this volcano, and we all had to wear these hula skirts, and then we would shake the blanket or whatever, so it looked like the volcano was erupting. And I was just like, this is my life. This is pretty great.
That is amazing. I saw that tour, just so you know. I saw you in your G-string and shaking that blanket. Your parents are probably like, what is she wearing? A body stocking?
I know. My parents were just like, but you know, I used to at the end of the show, because you've seen Bette, I'm sure, more than once, as I did. I went to one of her concerts before the Millennium Concert, and I would, at the end of the show, we did Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, and we were all sweating. And so then we came backstage, and then her backup, there were 2 mics there for us. So we would sing Stay With Me Baby with her, like the backups. And we would also sing The Rose back there. And I remember we were back there with towels on, and I remember singing and just looking through the curtain at her. And I know that she was sweating as much as the rest of us, but it was just like, she was just so poised. And I was just like, that's what I want to do. Like, that's what I want to be in the front, you know? And all of these things that have gotten me to where I am, it's nice to look back and say, all of these stories, and that I just kept going.
All right, we're going to talk about your career, because you have this incredible career, and I'm just going to mention some of the highlights, because boy, this hour is flying. I know, but this is great.
This is so great.
Oh, this is so great. You know, just tell me a great story or a fun memory. Like, okay, so I first fell in love with you, as many other people did, in the innovative musical Eli's Comin'. Oh, that's the first one. Of course, you know, based on Laura Nero's songs. I mean, how wonderful was that? And that cast.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, it was, and that was another one. I didn't have an agent at that time. And because I grew up, you know, with a grandma who would always look in the paper for opportunities and things like that, I didn't let not having an agent stop me. And so I bought Backstage, and I would go to all the open calls, and I would wait 3 hours and sing my, you know, 16 bars, 32 bars. And I remember going to this audition and auditioning for Cindy Tolan. And I had this song at the time that I always sang. I think I did Rock Steady by Aretha Franklin. And I would always sing that. And the accompanist at the time was like, you can only sing 16 bars. And I said, well, it's 20 bars. So can you just play those extra 2? Like, you know, because I have this riff at the end. Yeah. And he was like, no, I can't do that. And I was just like, oh my God, like that fighter in me gets like, oh my, you know, but the poor guy, he'd probably been there all day playing, you know, for everybody. And I started, and then Cindy Tolan, she liked me. And so she asked me to sing a full song after that. And I just kind of looked at him like,
see?
And then I sang my full song, and I felt so vindicated after that. And then I walked to exit, and I said, oh, thank you so much, Cindy. It's so nice to meet you. I probably didn't call her Cindy, but I'm just saying that now. But I was like, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much. And I looked at him, and I just kind of then walked out of the audition room. And as I was walking out, there was a ballet bar that was one of those that you could move, like a movable one. And I tripped over the ballet bar, and I fell. And then I just like got up and was like, and just kept walking.
Picked
you know.
yourself up and walked out.
Exactly. So that's been my life, pretty much. But that
You won an Obie Award for that.
I won an Obie Award. I got to be in that show with incredible actors. Anika Noni Rose, that was one of her first shows in New York. Judy Kuhn, who I was such a fan of. Ronelle Bay, a famous jazz singer. Wilson Germain Heredia, and Diane Paulus. It was one of her first shows.
I mean, really, wow, when you come to think about it.
It was pretty, it was incredible. And the Vineyard Theater is such a special place. And when you go into the Vineyard, I think they have a picture of us doing the Surrey dance, which we made up on our own. And I just love it. I love that memory. It was one of my favorite experiences in New York.
Falling over the ballet bar. That's how you got hired. That's how she.
Yeah, well, Doug Abel was like, let's give her another chance.
Give her another chance. Okay, Broadway debuts are really special. Many people were supposed to make them this last spring, and then the pandemic hit. And I hope when the theater comes back, bigger and better than ever, they'll have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yours was in Aida. How excited! Yes. How magical was that for you?
Well, Aida, it was my Broadway debut, and I was a standby for Idina Menzel.
Yeah.
And I remember I was such a huge Rent fan.
Yeah.
And she was so nice to me.
Yeah.
And Aida, not that was weird, but I was just like, she'd be like, "Hey, Mandy," and I'm like, "Hey, Idina," just super, I was total fan, and fangirling. And I remember she would invite me into her dressing room and just be like, "Do you want to talk about, anything?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure." Like people called her D. I was like, "Yeah, sure, D," like whatever. But she was so nice to me. And she was never out. Yeah. So that was really hard because anybody knows when you're a standby or an understudy, which I think is an important thing to be able to do when you're first starting, because that's how you learn a lot, or a swing.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't out for 3 months, I was so ready to go on, but I was never given a put-in rehearsal. I think because stage management, maybe they didn't think she would ever be out, so I never did the show in costume or shoes or anything like that. So that night that I went on, it was like my first everything. But my best friend, Darrell, who's a character in my story, he and I were in the swing room together, and he called me, as you did. You didn't have cell phones, couldn't text, and or maybe we had a cell phone, but we just called. And he was like, "You're on." I'm like, "I know, I'm on. I'm so excited." And then he said, when he saw me, it was like I was this, just so calm and ready. And he was kind of freaked out. Like, "Is she okay? What's wrong with her?" And in the beginning of Aida, you're in this museum kind of thing. Yeah. And I was Amneris. And so I'm standing in the museum piece. I'm a statue. Yeah. And Darrell looks in before the curtains rise, and he's like, "Mandy, are you okay?" And I was like, "Darrell, I got this." And that's all I remember from that night. I remember nothing else. Everything else was like, "Oh God," like, I was just so focused and ready. And then
you took your bow. You took your bow at the end.
I took my bow at the end. I made it through. And I was lucky because the producers were there from Aida to watch me, and they really liked my performance. And then I went for an audition, and I was auditioning for Bernie Telsey, who's been such an incredible supporter of my work. And I'm so grateful to so many of the opportunities that he's given me. And I went in for him to audition for John Rando and Jim Steinman and John Carafa for the show Dance of the Vampires. And this was another thing. I went in and I did my song. It was probably Rocksteady, because that was my go-to. And I sang my song, and then they had me wait in the waiting room. And then Bernie came out and he said, "Do you know Total Eclipse of the Heart? They want you to come back and sing it." And I'm like, "Well, I can just do it now. Like, I know that song," because it was my favorite song, like growing up. And he goes, "Well, why don't you take a minute?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I took a minute, and then I went back in and I sang Total Eclipse of the Heart for Jim Steinman. And then he said, "Can you take it up a couple, can you take it up like a half step?" And I said, "Yeah." I can. And I did it. And it was like one of those magical moments, you know, and
you just knew this was going to work.
I just knew. And then I had a callback, and at the callback, all the producers were there. It was like my final callback. And I walked around and I said hi to everybody. And then all of a sudden this one person stood up and I was like, Michael Crawford? I think I screamed it. I was just like, what are you doing here? You know, like just totally excited and freaked out. And then everybody started to laugh. And then I got to sing with Michael at the final callback. And then Michael, he wanted on the poster it to say, because it was my major Broadway debut, he wanted it to say, and introducing Mandy Gonzalez. And the show did not make it. It was a huge bomb. And now that poster sits on the wall with many others at Joe Allen's.
Oh, yes.
And I feel so proud that I was part of that and that I made it through, you know, because the longer you are in this business, the more you learn that it's a ride, you know? I don't know.
But you had so much fun. Everybody I've spoken to.
Oh my God, we had so much. I mean, it was Renee Bourgeois, Ron Orbach, Max von Essen. I mean, we laughed nonstop. And then the shenanigans, like the craziness that happened to try to keep that musical open was like, I mean, there was one night, I think maybe it was Mercedes-Benz was a sponsor. And so they wanted Michael to drive a car on during the final bow. And it was like, we were so just like, please keep us open. That he did it, but they couldn't actually, I don't think it was legal to drive a car.
You can't keep gasoline in there in case it blew up.
So the stagehand just pushed him on, and then he had to hit the brake, you know, and Michael wore these like certain shoes. And I remember just being on stage, like, you know, waiting. And then we all would leave and laugh and just be like, this is insane.
You got to share the stage with Michael Crawford.
I mean, he couldn't have been more wonderful. And he was Michael Crawford, the Phantom, and he was right there with us through all of it. You know,
he's Rob Diamond's favorite, just so you know. Rob,
I do know, and that's how I met Rob, because of Michael, because he was doing Michael's website at the time, and I think he still does, or you know, he's very busy these days. Now that he does BroadwayWorld, but I remember Rob and I, maybe we went to Cafe Edison and we had, you know, matzo ball soup, and we were like, he said, "You want me to build your website?" And I didn't know what that really was at that time. And I was like, sure. And we have stayed friends throughout. And that's almost 20 years.
Yeah, he's the best. I love going to Rob and Jennifer's home because now they have a beautiful baby girl, Leia. But every time you go there, he finds this obscure stuff to show me. Here's Michael doing this stuff that no one has. Here's Michael in concert from so-and-so. And I love it. So I just love how it's a full circle moment with all of us. And it's all Rob Diamond.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was Rob's birthday about 2 years ago. You were there, Richie. And and Michael was there. And I haven't seen Michael since Vampire closed. You know, and it was really wonderful to see him and talk to him about different things in our lives that have gone on. And he seemed very happy, and I was happy to see that. Yeah.
Okay, we have to, Lennon. You were one of the John Lennons. I mean,
yes, hold on. I have to show you something. Oh, everybody's going to see my outfit, but hold on a minute.
Oh, totally.
So Lennon, the thing I love about... Yeah, I'm wearing jeans. The thing I love about doing concerts is that I can show at my home is that I can show people different things that, you know, I've gotten throughout my career. And a lot of people don't know, but on opening night, you exchange presents. Everybody exchanged presents with everybody in the cast, all the creative team. And for Lennon, I think I got two of the best presents I've ever received, or two of my favorite presents I've ever received on Broadway. One was an Epiphone guitar from Don Scardino, our director. And it's the same type of guitar that John Lennon used to play. Each of us got a guitar, which was so amazing. Yeah. And then Yoko Ono, so actually it's three, because Yoko Ono gave us, remember iPods? Yep. Okay, I didn't have a good one, you know, and she gave us one of the ones that was like really good, and it had the silver back, and on the back it said "Love Yoko," and I have not used it or anything. Like it's still in the box. It's so incredible. And she also gave us this.
Oh my gosh.
And I framed it and it says, "To Mandy, enjoy. Love, Yoko." And I was like, this is amazing, and so I've kept all of those things with me. I mean, I can't wait to show people. I think I'll show people more on Sunday from the different opening nights. I mean, vampires, everything that I've gotten. My teeth from vampires. It's like, I have all that stuff. It's crazy.
This is what the fans want to see. This is what I want to see. Look at I have all of this stuff. Rob gave me my first iPod. It still sits.
Well, what's this Angela Lansbury? What's that?
Who is she? What?
No, Angela Lansbury's behind you. What is that?
She is. This is to me. It's "With all good wishes, love, Angela Lansbury."
That's amazing.
So I always leave her. But go ahead.
Did you know that is she a twin? I can't remember if she's a twin or she just has a brother.
Edgar Lansbury. Yeah.
So he produced Lennon.
Yeah, totally.
And, I think he's no longer with us, but he was such a wonderful presence. But the fact that he was Angela Lansbury's brother was pretty cool. Okay. And, we had such a great time in that show with Terry Mann and Michael Potts and Marcy Harrell, Julia Murney. And I loved it so much. And it's another one. It just didn't work.
Listen,
it unfortunately didn't work, but
I got
we had a good time.
With Yoko a lot. I love talking with Yoko.
Oh, she's wonderful. Yoko couldn't have been nicer. And I remember auditioning again for that show and singing. We all got to pick a John Lennon song that we wanted to sing for an audition, and I sang "Beautiful Boy," and she was sitting there watching me, with her hands crossed, and she was wearing all black, and she had this black hat on and her glasses, and she had the glasses down on her nose and would just kind of look up. Yeah. And I was like, I'm singing this song that John Lennon wrote about his son, about their son to her. And it was like, that was not lost on me. What she had gone through as an artist, as a mother, as a wife. And, in the end, I think if a show doesn't work or not, that's just what it is. But the relationships that you build, the people that you meet can really change your life, It
was a full circle moment for me because early on, I worked for a very high-end party planner, and I used to do dinners at Yoko's apartment in the Dakota. Yes. And we used to go early, and you didn't wear shoes in the house. It was fabulous. And I got to be in the living room where on the white piano where John Lennon wrote Imagine and everything else. So getting to talk to her during Lennon, I was so excited. I was like, I have to talk to Yoko Ono because it'll be a full circle moment for me. But it was some of the best nights I ever spent at her home. Absolutely. Was being where he wrote all these songs and be able to sit at the piano. And I have these Yoko Ono buttons she gave me that say Imagine. It's a white button with black. So, it's just, we all have these kind of moments. We have to move on to Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's played a very big role in your life. Yes. I mean, Nina Rosario, you started in the Heights. Mm-hmm. I mean, tell me what Lin means to you. I mean, this could be a whole other hour.
Yes. I'm like, how much time you got? I mean, he is, that whole creative team means so much to me. And, they're really like family. They have been by my side through so much of my life, Lin, I was able to be a part of 2 of his shows in the Heights. And I am reminded because I have this flyer that we used to give out to say, please come see our show. And if you look, the tickets are like $26. And it was during this time because we were like, we were at 37 Arts. Nobody really knew who we were. And we gave it to everybody. So I had extras of these and they're now in my office. But I love, and, they have been by my side and I have become an advocate, like I said, for early detection. And I work with BCRF, which is Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And they raise so much money for research. And when I made the call to the company of In the Heights, Lin was one of the first to call back and say, yes, I will be a part of this. last year, I will be a part of this concert. And Tommy Kail always writes back and says, yes, Mandy, I'm by you. And that's really what he means to me, what the cast of In the Heights means to me. I'm so excited for a whole new generation to fall in love with this musical.
Oh,
and
I saw the movie.
Oh, you did? How is it? I haven't seen it.
It's brilliant. It's one of the best movie musicals ever.
I can't wait.
Oh, you're good. And there's all these, like, his mother and father. I saw them. I see where Lynn's parents are in the movie. Christopher Jackson is the ice cream man. I found all these Easter eggs. But I cannot wait to talk to Lynn about it. But the movie, it's so now, it's so everything.
Yes, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of Kiara that she continued. I know that they went through so many different stages in having this movie be made, and she continued to go back and write and create something really beautiful. And her new book has also just come out. Broken Language. Yeah. And I read it in like 2 days. It's fabulous. And so I'm just so proud. I'm so proud of them.
But then to have stepped from In the Heights, then you got to do Hamilton, but you did Hamilton early on because you sang those songs when I saw Hamilton mixtape.
Yeah. Did you go?
Oh, I went.
Yes, I was the first to sing Say No to This. I got the call when you get a call from Lin-Manuel and Alex Lackamore, and they said, we're meeting at Alex's apartment. Can you come and, be a part of this concert? I had just given birth to my daughter like 2 months before. Nothing fit me. I remember going to Bloomingdale's and just kind of crying as I was trying on dresses. And the woman at Bloomingdale's was like, you look great. This one's great. Wear that. And I was like, thank you so much. But I was like 2 months from having my daughter. And I said, yes. I was like, absolutely. And then he played me some of this music. And at that time, I think it was going to be an album. I don't know what he was planning to do with it, but it was like I was with my friends and it was just magical. And I'm like, this is something special. Like they're going to take it away, And then when I saw it at the public with my husband, I was like, I cried. I just, first of all, it was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And I was just so, so proud. So I know that when I watch In the Heights, when I watch the movie, I'll cry too.
All right. But just Angelica Schuyler, being put into the show and getting on that turntable for the first time. What is that energy like? Because it's from this
terrifying. Terrifying. And you're in this long dress. It's really like dancing on a carousel, but thank goodness, like my character doesn't dance that much, but I'm always amazed when we do Hurricane and I'm on the peripheral, watching these incredible dancers and what they do on that turntable. It's just incredible. But, I felt like every role that I've ever done, it's always been like the perfect time in my life for that to happen. Yeah. Because I don't know in my 20s if I would have felt like I would have been ready to play Angelica Schuyler and play that role within the theater, like within my cast as that older sister and maternal. And when I got there, I knew what that needed. And what that part means. And so I felt like this is the perfect time for this. Yeah. And I was so lucky that they called me.
I have spoken to so many people who have done Hamilton, and I've asked them all, because they've all gone to the White Room, which of course everybody realizes when you go up on something. Did you ever go to the White Room in Hamilton?
Yes.
Would you tell us?
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you one story, which wasn't my fault. But it did happen. It's live theater. So John Rua, I believe, was on for Hamilton, and we were doing Helpless. And in Helpless, we do this turn, and the turntable's turning, and I'm hugging my sisters. And John Rua, we hugged, and for some reason, he got tripped up in my dress. And in that moment, you're thinking, okay, well, he's going to figure out how to get out of this. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, as I'm thinking that, I'm like, I'm going down. And like, we both just like,
did you go down?
Yes. And the turntable kept going. And let me tell you, my sisters just looked at me. Like nobody helped. Nobody helped me get up. Like I went down and then I was just like, crawled back up by myself. And I was just like, you know what? And it's okay because John, I love dearly, and he is my Heights family. Yeah. But, you know, it was just kind of like one of those moments. Yeah. You just never know with live theater what's going to happen. You got to be ready. You got to be like with it every moment. But that's what I love about it.
Oh, I'm sure the audience loves these moments. But we have like 1 minute left. I have to ask you, Elfie, you went green in Wicked. Do you remember the first time you saw yourself all done up as Elfie and then being painted green?
Yes, it was at the put-in rehearsal.
Okay.
Up until that point, I have just rehearsed with the stage manager when you're replacing and the dance captain. And so at a put-in rehearsal, you're the only one in costume. Yeah. So I walked on with the green makeup, and everybody, I looked and I felt like how Elphaba would have felt. And that felt like, okay, this is right. And then, you know, but my first 2 show day, when you learn that you have to take it off and then put it all back again, it was like, what? That green was going to stay for a while.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this hour has flown by, but you are known, you're known, you've done such wonderful work on television and film. That's for another, we'll do this all over
the next
again.
Hour.
The next hour. But finally, what have you learned about yourself during this pandemic?
I've learned so many things, Richie. Yeah. As I'm sure we all have, but I've learned to slow down a little bit. Like that Simon and Garfunkel song, slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last. It's really appreciating the moments. Like I said, looking for the angels wherever they may be, whether it's in a book or something that a sunrise. It's about slowing down. And I think that's been the biggest gift.
I love that. Like I said, once again, Mandy will be in concert with Seth Rudetsky this Sunday afternoon, April 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with a rebroadcast Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's a very special VIP sound check ticket at 12 noon. All tickets are $28.50. They're available at BroadwayWorld events. You know, if you're a student, go after the student thing. Mandy, I've adored you since
I adore you.
This flew by so fast.
Absolutely.
Have the best time on Sunday. Again, the new book, hold the book up again. Look, it must feel so great to hold a hardcover book.
It's so great. It's so great. I'm like, hey.
Yep. There's, of course, her album, Fearless, #Fearless Squad. Have the best time on Sunday. Everybody stay safe until we see you then. And for all your theater coverage, stay with us here at BroadwayWorld.com. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Richie.
Love you.
Love you.